remember the field trips.
They do. Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Jennifer.
Hi, good evening. This is Jim Crescitelli, Director of the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation, presenting with our crew yet another installment of Facebook Live. Tonight's very special guest is Mike Armbruster, and I know that name rings a bell with many, many, many of you. Mike is a Winter Garden institution, and we're going to talk about his life and career and how he's come to love his city so much. So we'll just dive right into it. And Michael, thank you so much for coming up.
Well, thank
appreciate
you for
it.
having me here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about how you and your family actually moved to the West Orange County area. Tell me how you started with that and what brought you to education in West Orange County.
Actually, my dad was American, my mom was English, and he was a serviceman, and he promised my mom as long as he was in, he'd stay in England as much as he could. And so I grew up in England pretty much most of my early life, and when I turned 16, my brothers stayed behind. They had English girlfriends, they were older, and ended up with English wives. And my dad brought my mom back to the United States and headed down the East Coast looking for somewhere outside of Pennsylvania that didn't have snow. And somehow, after a few weeks of traveling, we ended up in Pine Hills, of all places. And at that time, they were rezoning schools, and I ended up at West Orange High School. And that was the beginning of my my time in Winter Garden, so to speak.
And that picture that we have of you and Cindy, correct?
Sandy. Yeah.
Sandy, sorry.
No,
Sandy.
that's fine. Yeah.
Sandy. This was taken while you were living in England, or did
Actually, this was
visited?
our first trip. Her parents, we had been dating about 2 years, and
Nice.
her parents gave us permission to travel with my parents
Nice.
to England, and so that was our first trip. We've been together as, actually December 11th was 42 years since our first date, and we've been married 37 years.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, she was born and raised Floridian, right in Ocoee, and when we got married and been married a couple years, I said, well, you know what, we need to move somewhere, and so we did, about 3 or 4 miles west, and ended up here in the Winter Garden area.
You went to West Orange High School.
I did. My senior year, I played soccer there, and that led to 10 years later, I went back to
There's West Orange High School.
Yep, West Orange, and volunteered to coach soccer. and started coaching, and then eventually ended up being an assistant principal there. And then, as crazy as it may sound, I ended up principal at the school I graduated from.
Right.
Yeah, so I spent some 25 years, one way or another, attached to West Orange High School, which was pretty cool.
It's nice to, it's like they didn't have to re-know you. They knew you already.
They did, they
principal.
did.
Yeah.
And it was kind of cool because some of the teachers that I actually had as a student were still teachers there when I became principal.
Nice.
So, and they really, it was one of the things that I always loved about Winter Garden. They looked after me. They said, listen, you're going to make mistakes, but you're one of ours, so we're going to take care of you. They said, but we're going to come in here and close the door and tell you that was really boneheaded and stupid, but it's going to be between us, and we'll look out for you. And they did. I had a great experience at West Orange, thanks to them.
And that's one of your phrases that you, the
it
phrase
is.
under the title.
I'm a huge believer in collaboration, and so when I took over there, we had a vision statement that was probably 3 pages long, and so I cut it down to something very simple: together we all succeed. And every day the students who were there while I was there got to hear that every morning after the Pledge of Allegiance, when I tell them to have a great day and don't forget, together we all succeed.
Nice.
So,
what got you into education? What hooked you?
Actually, my wife was a teacher first, and I was actually a general manager out at West Orange Country Club. I'd worked there 8 years. In my 5th year, the manager left. I started out parking golf carts and cleaning toilets and all kinds of things. But it also gave me an opportunity to meet a lot of people here in Winter Garden.
Sure.
And when the time came that he left, they put me in as an interim manager while they hired somebody, and Ward Britt, a name many people know, happened to be president at the time. And after 3 months, he offered me the position, and I was a 22-year-old kid who probably shouldn't have got the position. But again, I was one of theirs in their eyes, and they took me in and they took care of me. When I messed up, they educated me, and it was
Ward's
a really
great at finding the right
experience.
people. He's great at that.
He was.
He's on our board too.
And I owe him a lot. And in fact, my first pickup truck I got from him when he got transferred to Germany. But anyway, my wife was a teacher. Walt Cobb, who was the director of Westside Tech locally, was starting a new program, and I was working probably 85 hours, 90 hours a week, which Ward knew I would do. I think that's part of why he hired me. But it was tough on a newlywed, and they were opening a new program in golf course management, and I talked to him about it, and I got a job there as a teacher and worked at Westside for 7 years before becoming an assistant principal at West Orange High School.
And that's the former Drew High School, correct?
That's what it was
the
before.
African-American high school before integration. Yeah,
Yep,
over there
absolutely.
on Story Road.
Yep.
Out east,
Yep.
yeah, exactly.
It sure is.
So you're at West Orange High School, then you decide to make a move to Ocoee High School.
I did. I was given the opportunity
How did that happen?
to open up a new high school, and I was told I could hire everybody and I could do this and do that, and I got to do all of that. And so it was a great opportunity, and it was something that I just thought would be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. And so I took that and ended up, I got to spend a year getting it ready, hiring all the staff. I brought with me an assistant principal from West Orange, George Morris, and also Laura Busey, who came from Ocoee Middle, and Sherry Godek. And we were the starting team, and then later on Mary Bridges joined us on the administration, and spent 5 years there and had a great experience. It was hard because I think they cut me off at 50 people. I took 50 people from West Orange because they were losing students and they needed to lose the positions, but they said that was enough. And so it was kind of there was a lot of West Orange there, but then everybody else came from other places, and it turned out to be probably one of the most one of the greatest experiences of my life, to start something from scratch and build it and see it come in. Yeah, I always said West Orange was my home, but Ocoee was my baby, and I got to bring it to life.
Was it a similar experience? Were there differences between the student body, the approach?
Yeah. It was, you know, I like to make things sound better than they were sometimes because I'm an eternal optimist, but it was very difficult. They brought students from 3 different, I mean, we had Pine Hill, south of Popka, Ocoee, and some of Winter Garden. And those of you who live in the West Orange County area know there's history between all of those areas, and they brought students from all of those areas into one place. So that first year was a little testy. And we had to do a lot of melding of different communities into one. And actually, the nickname I had for it before it was officially named Ocoee High School was Unity High School, because I knew we were going to have to work on building unity. And we did. We did a great job. And by year 2, things were so much better. By year 3, it was like any other high school. But
Excellent.
It was a tough start.
You really have to be dedicated. You got to love what you're doing to get
yeah.
something from questions to, like you say, optimism and hope. And then you, how long were you at Ocoee?
At Ocoee, I ended up 6 years there.
And then you went to University High School?
Yeah, University High School.
That's over on the east side of,
it is
of the
a
county.
beautiful campus. If you ever get a chance, it's probably one of the prettiest schools. It's unique to Orange County.
Actually, not to interrupt, I had to do a presentation for United Arts to 7th graders. And our programs only go to 4th grade. So I had to up the ante for these 7th graders who were sitting in the classroom, terrifying me because I didn't work with 7. Anyway, it is a beautiful campus, like you say.
It is.
So tell me
a
your
gorgeous
experience
place.
there.
Well, I got to go out there. They were in the middle of a rebuild, and so I got to finish the rebuild of a school campus. So it was a good experience. One of the things that I found, because I was at West Orange, which the largest population of students happened to be white. At Ocoee, the largest population of students happened to be black. And at University, the largest population of students happened to be Hispanic. And what that afforded me was the opportunity to see that regardless of what the students were, parents were the same and people were the same. They wanted the very best for their kids.
Sure.
And it was a great lesson for me in the power of staying focused on students and putting students first, and everything else starts to take hold when you do that. Yeah. And so they were very similar in many ways, although on the surface they were very different in many ways. But at the end of the day, I love the kids, and I think some of the kids liked me, so it was a win-win. And so, I love doing it. It was a great, truly in my heart, I think I was born to be a principal, even though I took a very unlikely path to get there. It's what, and I spent 13 years in that role, so.
Sometimes the path chooses us.
And I think, honestly, it did for me. It was truly
you were in the
a wonderful thing
spot.
for me. Yeah.
Yeah. You can just tell how just the thoughtfulness you have for students, just by what you said about students are the main thing.
Yeah.
And then you got the opportunity to see all of these different demographics and realize we're all one. We're all one bunch. Just needing a little bit of learning, all of us. Yep.
Yeah.
Did you go to Orange County Public Schools then after
Well,
university,
after that,
I
kind of came full circle. I started in what's called career and technical education, which back when I started was called vocational education. The trades, learning skills, those kinds of things. So while I was a principal, the position of associate superintendent for career and technical education opened up. And my father happened to pass away in 2013. My mom is by herself. I'm kind of her sole family here in this country. And so I knew that being a principal the way I like to do it, I wasn't going to have the flexibility, was one reason. Plus, I loved the power of career and technical education. And so it was kind of a win-win. I hated leaving the high school, but I got to go there, which then gave me the opportunity to work with all the high schools, all the middle schools, and the 5 technical college campuses. And so I spent 7 years there. We went from, I think, 29,000 students who were being touched by career and technical education to 53,000 in that time. It was like a 75% growth. And we worked hard on changing the perception and getting back to what's good for students. We focused on the fact that there's more than one way to a great career. And many years ago, probably after the GI Bill, college became this thing of that's what you have to do to be successful. And honestly, it's a great path. I took it. I was the first in my family to go. My daughter went that way. She went through Georgia Tech. But I also have brothers and I also have family members who didn't go that route, who have lived extremely successful lives.
It's not for everybody.
It's not, and it's not even just the fact of money or whatever. There are a lot of happy people who love being welders, who love being mechanics, who love being those things. And so it's not like they're doing the drudge work. And they also happen to make really good livings if they're really good at what they do.
Bottom line sometimes.
Yeah. So
even in my family, Italian people, first and second generation, the boys were expected in my house to go to college. Not my 2 sisters. They were like, if you want to go, you can. What an attitude. This was in the 70s, so that's a little bit of a,
little
we should
shift.
go back and correct that. If I could, I would.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
My sisters are doing great, so yeah.
That's
my
wonderful.
Did well,
So it was a good, I was in for 33 years and decided to retire. And
this is all your teaching career.
that was my teaching, my assistant principal, and then downtown with OCPS. Yeah. So it was 33 years. My wife was a teacher for 35 years. So between us, we had 68 years. So you can imagine she stayed in Winter Garden. She was at Westside for 30 years. She did her last 5 years at West Orange High School. And of course, I was there for a long time. So you can imagine us traveling through Winter Garden. Most of the time, I can't get away with anything, because somebody's going to know who I was, and same thing with her. So it's kind of fun. Someone will say Armbruster, and we'll both wave because we're not sure if it was her student or one that I had or whatever. But I love it. I loved being principal in Winter Garden when I was at West Orange and living here, because I could solve problems in the grocery store. I liked that connectivity. They didn't have to make an appointment and get mad waiting in the office. They could catch me at the cucumbers and say, hey, my son's schedule's not right. And I'd say, hey, give me your name and number. We'll see what we can do. And I tried to do that for anybody and everybody. And I loved that connectivity.
There is definitely that sense of close community in the region. There really is. I see you talk about it all the time on Facebook. I mean, you're a big booster of Winter Garden, West Orange County, and I think the key word for that and for what you did for 33 years, it's community.
Yes.
It's an umbrella of emotion and support, and you really love this town. It just really shows.
I do. You and I had talked earlier, and I shared with you that I was a military brat. I loved it. I went to 8 schools in 12 years, but I always yearned for a place that I could put down roots and call home. And for whatever reason, through a series of crazy events, Winter Garden became that for me. People looked after me. They took care of me. They helped me. They pushed me. I mean, honestly, to be 22 years old and given the keys to a country club, and then go from there and be given the keys to a classroom, and then the keys to a building, and then the keys to a district. There were people who really did look after me, and really Winter Garden has been my home. I know it's only 43 years, and I know for some that's not long enough, but for me, it's home, and I'm good with that.
Absolutely. And you've made it your home, and they've made you part of them. Yeah, you work for it, and it works.
Yeah, it does.
What is your legacy? If you had to sum it up, your legacy in education, what's the biggest part of your heart that you've taken from that legacy, that educational legacy?
It's funny about, I can tell you the exact day, but a year and a half ago, give or take, I was diagnosed with a leukemia and a type of cancer, and I had to go through a bone marrow transplant. And one of the most powerful things that helped me during some of the darker days, and there were some somewhat dark days, were the notes and the messages I would get either in cards or on Facebook from students who maybe I remembered or maybe I didn't, but they never forgot. And it would be a reminder of a kindness, that, hey, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have graduated high school. Everybody wanted me gone but you. Or if it wasn't for you, I'd have gone to jail. Or even if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have even thought about going here or doing that. And so the legacy wasn't so much that it was about me, it was about the power that we all have to just do something simple and nice and it be profoundly impactful on somebody.
For them to say that many, many years later.
And for them to remember, just 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago now, I performed a marriage for 2 students who were students of mine in the 90s at West Orange High School, and they reached out and asked if I would do that because I had worked hard with the groom to keep him in school, and they wanted somebody that meant something important in their life, and you can't buy that,
No,
and honestly, again, I don't know exactly what was so profound because it was my job and it's what I did, but I loved doing it, and I think that's the legacy of any educator when you can think back. And my daughter, she talks of the teacher she had at West Orange when she was a student there, and the Restivos and the Boyds and the different ones that touched her life. That's a powerful thing as an educator, that you get. And so That I think is the greatest gift. We had talked earlier about a corny movie. It's called It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. And from the first day teaching until my last day at the school board room, I had a poster of the movie on my wall. It's always hung with me for 33 years. And the beauty of that movie to me was, you know, being the richest man in the world isn't about all the things we're taught sometimes when we're young. Being the richest man in the world is having somebody walk up when you're facing a dark day and say, you made a difference for me. And that's the power, I think, in the legacy of being an educator.
That's it. You can have stuff, you can be surrounded by stuff,
Yeah.
and one little sentence from someone just saying, thank you for what you did for me. It's worth $1 billion. Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
worth, a lot. Absolutely.
So you've had a lot of experiences with students and teachers. You've got a good sense of humor. Does something stand out that's funny, hysterical in your teaching career
it's a really silly story.
Jumps to mind?
Yeah, it's a really silly story, but it was true. It's absolutely 100% true. When I first started teaching, I taught golf course management, maintenance, so we had lawnmowers and stuff. And so I would stand up and I'd say, do not, make sure, that's what I would say, make sure you check the gas and the oil. Before we do anything, check the gas and oil. And so every time I'd see the kids doing it. And so one day we're out in the field and this guy's mower stops. And so I'm going over and I'm looking at all kinds of stuff. I'm starting to pull out spark plugs. I'm looking at everything. And then finally I open up the gas thing and I look and I said, didn't you check the gas and oil? He goes, yeah, I did. Like you said, it was but it was empty. And I was like, and I had never taught them what to do if they checked it was empty. And it was a true story. And it was funnier in real life. And I just looked at him and I said, I appreciate it, man. You taught me something today. And I realized you can't take anything for granted and you can't expect them to know what they don't know. Right. And so you have to take full ownership and say, hey, listen, check the gas and oil. And if it's low, fill it up.
So you don't just teach, you learn.
Yeah, you do. Exactly. You do. But yeah, there's a lot of funny stories. Too many. And some of them I probably can't share on Facebook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I always say at the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation, when we're all gone, that's when that book will be published.
Exactly, exactly.
Lots of stories, yeah. Tell me more about, well, what's the future for you? What are you doing now and what's coming up?
You know, I actually, I did say retired for a year, and I'm still pretty much retired, but there's an organization called OCASA, which is the Orange County Association of School Administrators. It's made up of principals and assistant principals, and so they approached me this few months ago and asked me if I'd be their executive director. The one that was there for 15 years retired. So now I'm doing that, and it's just an association where we can share common values and, you know, be able to put a common face forward. So what's good for me is it's allowing me the opportunity to get back into the schools, visit with principals, assistant principals, see kids, do that kind of stuff without any of the burdens of what principals face today. It's a tough job. Don't ever underestimate, one, the power of a principal, and just how hard it is to be a principal in today's schools. But anyway, so I do that. So I spend a few hours every week visiting schools, and then today I was actually at the Central Florida Fairgrounds judging for the Future Farmers of America. They were having their competition, so I volunteer and judge out there. Again, it's a way to connect with students.
Is that farm animals still?
They still have,
animals,
there's still a lot. Now today was the speeches, extemporaneous speaking and prepared speaking and stuff, so
gotcha.
We were judging that. But yes, the students still raise
steers
and pigs and chickens and rabbits.
I know Ocoee High School has a farm in the
They
back.
do.
Yeah.
Ocoee, actually every high school, one of the things I'm proud of when I became the Associate Superintendent for Career and Technical Education is we now have agriculture in every high school. It was only in about half of them when I started, and we have it in pretty much all of the middle schools. So it was a big deal because it's a great opportunity. It's a great organization, and the kids love it, and a lot of those kids excel. Yeah. And they don't necessarily go on to be farmers, but they go on to be congressmen and presidents. So.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
you're learning the land that you're standing on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hope Charter has a little farm too.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, they've done a really nice job there.
What was her name? Yoakum?
Yes, Yoakum.
She gave us a tour once.
Yep,
yeah,
that's her.
It's nice out there.
So, but yeah.
It's West Orange County. Why not?
And
Agriculture. It's our legacy. It's why we're all here. It's why we're talking together in this room today.
When you bring that up, talk about memories. So WOW, That's West Orange Warriors. And they used to chant,
Oh,
I don't know if
yeah.
they still do, West Orange County, West Orange County. And that was our cool
will
thing
now.
back in the day. So if it's not there, bring it back. And if it is there, kudos, kudos, kudos.
You hear them.
Yeah. So,
Gosh.
but yeah, it's a great place to be, great place to live. And
It certainly shows.
yeah.
I like, well, we don't have to worry about documenting things. You did the golf cart parade, you did the Christmas parade, the golf cart parade. Great pictures, very professional.
I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I
it's
enjoy.
great.
I enjoy it. I enjoy. It's just it's a great. You know, when I was younger here, I told Sandy when we retire, we're going to move to a town that has this, this, and this, and we were very blessed that over the last 20 years, that town I envisioned moving to moved to me.
Yeah, oh,
and
wow, that's beautiful.
and so
That's
we're
nice.
we're here. We're here for the duration, and we love it. We ride our golf cart into town into town. We ride 3 blocks into town on our golf cart every night. It's almost like she calls it going on patrol, because I got to come see what's new, you know. Hey, you know, Foxtail just opened. We go in and we got coffee, you know. This one just opened. We go in. I don't need women's clothes, but I'm looking to see what's in there. So it's a great place to be.
Rod
Great
Reeves
place.
always calls it going uptown.
Yeah.
You're going up the hill to Plant Street. Yeah, driving uptown.
He's right. It's exactly right. He's and boy, talk about a legacy. That man. What a
Yeah, he
legacy.
was first museum director. Just I've told this to everybody. Not a day goes by where I'll pull something out of a file or look in a file. It's from the historical collection of Rod Reeves. He's done so much.
He's
You've had a
incredible,
lot of
and
great
his
directors.
history and his knowledge and oh my goodness, I could sit and listen to him for hours.
Oh, me
I
too.
have.
Me too. Yep, absolutely.
But so it's good stuff, good place, good people.
Well, anything you want to leave us with?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to share,
Oh,
I appreciate the opportunity I've had to serve. And honestly, when I went through, or I'm still going through it a little bit, hair's still not quite right, but
You're feeling good.
when I went through this, I got to tell you, this community has no idea of the love that they shared and the impact they made on me during, like I say, some of those darker days, especially the month I spent in the hospital. So, you know, it's my town. I love it. And in the words of the movie, you know, I feel like I'm the richest man alive. So can't beat it.
You used the phrase "it's a beautiful thing."
Yes.
What is that from? You say that
Actually,
a lot.
it's a twist. It's a twist on "It's a Wonderful Life." It's a beautiful thing. And I look back, gosh, 12 years ago on Facebook. I think I wrote it once, and then I skipped a little, and then I wrote it again, and then it just became a thing because I find that a lot of people look at what's wrong with everything, and I don't. I look at, if it's wrong, let's fix it, and if we can't fix it, let's find another way. But I actually spend most of my time looking at what's right. You know, when kids would come into the office, and I wasn't perfect, believe me, I made a lot of mistakes, especially when I was young. But when kids came into the office, I always saw the potential in them, not what was holding them back, and not the reasons why they couldn't succeed. And if you found the right mixture and the right thing, they could make it. And get somebody to believe in them, they would make it. And so it just, so I just believe that when you look at stuff, you got to look for the beautiful side of it. Even the ugly stuff, even the painful stuff, even the, you know, like this past year, you know, I had a dream to be at my daughter's wedding, and COVID, of course, was there. I was dealing with that, and COVID magnified the fact that I have no immunities. And we moved the wedding from May to November, and I walked in and I saw my daughter for the first time, and she looked beautiful. I mean, magnificent. And she looked at me and she said, "You made it, Daddy." And I kind of lost it.
Wow,
and
sure.
so then I just realized that, you know what? We made it because there was a whole lot of people who helped me get to that moment. And like I say, after that, everything's gravy. So that's where It's a Beautiful Thing. It's just, hey, life, as long as I'm breathing and I'm vertical and I'm upright, it's a beautiful thing. The rest we'll just deal with.
The optimism is, I wouldn't expect anything less from what I've heard about you.
Well, I
from folks,
appreciate
so
that.
it's
Well,
good.
hopefully I
And,
practice what I preach. And
I would
hopefully
say,
it's evident. So
I would say you've got the best of the planet, you know, youth, young people, the next generation. Well, we thank you very much, and thank you all for tuning in and checking out our Facebook live stream. It'll be uploaded to Facebook, so you can check it back. You can check back on it, and Mike can share it if he likes. And If you weren't able to see it tonight, you'll be able to see it again. That doesn't make sense, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I know what you mean.
There you go. Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and just to let thank you. Just to let everyone know, we're up and running. The Winter Garden Heritage Museum, the Central Florida Railroad Museum, and the Winter Garden Heritage Foundation History, Research, Education, and Visitor Center are now open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. I think I got that right finally after 12 tries. Please stop by and see us. We're as careful as we can be, and we love sharing our local history with you. In fact, you've probably seen behind us, as I'm talking with Mike, our latest exhibit here at the Winter Garden Heritage Museum, which is called West Orange County at Work. Very clever. We're talking about all the people, basically in the middle, who kept this town running for 125 years, whether it was citrus, shopkeepers, what have you. We've got the history, so please stop by and have a look. I think you'll enjoy it. Also, at City Hall, our map exhibit is up on the walls through the end of January, so stop in and say hello. And again, thank you very much. Also to Mike Forrester for making us look and sound good. Thank you, Mike. Take care.